Hey everybody, it's Greg with Leapfrog Land Care. I've been talking to a lot of folks lately about how much compost should be used on their lawn. And years ago when we first started doing compost top dressing, back in 2011 actually, I was fortunate enough to meet a local guy, lives in Apex, North Carolina, who is actually an internationally renowned compost expert. He's actually a soil scientist. And in talking with him, multiple conversations about the different types of compost to use, because with compost, you may think compost and black rich soil, all that good stuff, it's all the same. There's a lot of different varieties of compost. What do you mean by that? Well, think about a diet soda, okay? Diet Coke tastes different than Diet Pepsi, tastes different than Diet Right, tastes different than Diet Mountain Dew, tastes different from Food Lions variety, tastes different from, you kind of get the drift, right? Okay, so a lot of different types of diet sodas. They all may have some of the same basic ingredients, but they're all a little bit different. Compost is the same way. We've tried many different sources of compost and gotten varying results with them. There's some composts that they all work to a different degree, but what we found to be absolutely best is the variety that we're using now and have used for the last several years. But meeting with this soil scientist, you know, I was having customers come to me and tell me they want to get it and they want to till it in. They want to add a 2-inch layer of compost to the top of their aerate first and add two inches of compost and stuff like that. And I was talking to this guy named Ron, who again is a soil scientist. He's not a internet guru, you know, that knows how to Google things great. He's actually a soil scientist, went to school for this stuff, has done it for 25 plus years in the industry. And he's like, you want to use 1 cubic yard of compost for every 1,000 square feet of turf. And I'm like, okay, so how much is that? You know, if it inches wise. He's like, well, if you do the math and depending on the compost, the thickness of it and everything, you're going to end up with about a 1/4 inch layer. Not a very thick layer, but a 1/4 inch layer of compost over that 1,000 square feet. So here's the thing, if you got warm season lawn and you're spreading that out, and then and your grass is about 2 inches tall, when you spread it out, you're not going to see much except for a little bit of black sticking on some of the leaves of the grass. And then when you water it in, it's going to all settle well below the grass into the soil. Well, number one, that's what you really want. Number two, a 1/4 inch doesn't seem like it's doing a whole lot, but from what Ron said, the soil scientist, that is the perfect amount to really start getting the soil structure to start changing. And you're going to be better off doing small amounts multiple years than a large amount at one time. I know it doesn't make sense sometimes, and that goes into why I'm holding a protein smoothie drink cup. Man, I make a great smoothie. I really do. It's good. Sometimes I screw it up. Most of the time, they are spot on. They're really good. They're tasty. Loaded with nutrients, dense amounts of nutrients. Get some kale in there, some blueberries, and all kind of good stuff. Loaded with antioxidants, rich nutrients, good for you stuff. Put some good quality protein powder in there. It's good for your body, right? But what if I drink this one and I go, man, I made a blender full this morning. I got more in the cooler. I'm gonna drink this one for breakfast, and I'm gonna just go ahead and pour some more in me. I'm gonna have another one. You know what I'm gonna probably be doing in a little while if I have 3 of these on top of each other and I go out and do a little bit of work? I'm probably gonna be hurling if it's summertime, okay? So too much of a good thing wasn't necessarily good for me. Now, bite-sized pieces, one of these smoothies at a time, can be good for me, paced throughout the day or throughout time. Does that make sense? Compost is the same way. 2 inches of compost, not necessarily the greatest thing for your soil. Might be the greatest thing for helping you level things up, but if you're looking at long-term results, putting the right amount in is definitely more helpful than overloading the system. But we're talking about dirt, right? Yeah, we are, but there's also a balance of N, P, and K, different balances of the carbon ion exchange capacity for soil. For most of you, it probably doesn't make sense, but that's where some of the soil science comes in, and it is a real deal, because if you get too much of a good thing, guess what? The roots that are in the ground can't necessarily take up the nutrients needed to support that grass. So the reason we use 1 cubic yard for every 1,000 square feet of turf is, number one, that's because that's what Ron said, and he's the soil scientist and I'm not. But the biggest reason is, and then after doing it for time and time again, the results it gives is simply amazing.